Okay, Charlotte, so remember we did the water cycle recently, and I heard you talking about evaporation. What do you think evaporation is?
Water disappearing?
Water just disappearing. So you think it just disappears to nowhere?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is our water cycle.
Yeah.
So we have our evaporation section here, we have our condensation, precipitation, which is another word for rain, and runoff, which is just our rivers. Now, we're looking at this evaporation section here, which is you just think the water disappears. So if the water just disappears, does that continue to be a cycle?
No.
No. So we have to have a look and find out what evaporation actually is. Now, in actual fact, the water is not disappearing. You just can't see it anymore. So it actually turns into steam or water vapor. So we've got an experiment here that we're going to show you. So this is very hot, so please don't touch it. Now we have our heat source, and we're going to add some water to it. Now, what can you see the water doing?
Bubbling.
Bubbling. What else can you see it doing?
So it's getting less.
It's getting less, so there's actually less water into it. Now, what do you think what's actually happening to that water?
It's turning into steam.
It's turning into steam, so we can actually see the steam. So the water's actually getting less and less, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now that steam is water vapor. Now that is travelling up and that forms into the sky, and that's forming clouds. So the steam is actually mixing in with the air in such small pieces that we can't see it. Now all of that water is just about disappeared now, isn't it? So our heat source. So what we're going to do shortly, so that's our evaporation section there.
Yeah.
So it's going up into the clouds and forming a cloud. And it's going to condensate, precipitation, which is another word for rain, once again, rain down into our rivers and flow on, and then we have our whole cycle. Now what we're going to do now, we've just figured out the evaporation, is we're going to add some more water to this, but this time we're going to add a lid. And we're going to see what happens with the lid. Now the lid is actually going to basically act as a cloud, okay? So as we look at the lid, I want you to tell me what's actually happening to it. There's a bit more water in there. We're going to pop our lid on there now. So the heat source is still the same. So can we see anything going on with that lid?
And there's water droplets going onto it.
Yeah, there's water droplets forming onto it. So if that was a cloud, all that water is forming up into the clouds. Okay? So in a minute, once there's enough water on there, I'm going to lift it up. You can actually see the water running off. So this is our evaporation being stopped by the lid, isn't it? So the lid is a cloud. So, and can you see the water dripping off the lid? That was dry before, so now it's got water on it. So that water is turning into a liquid, the liquid is turning into a gas or water vapor and forming on the lid. And then when we lift it up, it basically dribbles off, which is similar to rain. So that is our full cycle. So we have our evaporation, which is the water heating up, condensation, which is the water forming on the top there, so the same as the cloud, precipitation, which is the water dribbling off, and then our runoff, which is basically just the pan. So that's what our water cycle is. And evaporation is water not just disappearing. Tell me, in your own words, what you think evaporation is.
So it's water turning into a vapor.
Yep.
Which is going back into the atmosphere, turning into a cloud.
Cloud, excellent. And then what happens after that? When the cloud gets full of water,
It rains.
it rains. So now we've spoken about the water with condensation. So I have a glass here. Can you see the water on the outside of the glass?
Yeah.
Now, does that water go through the glass? No. So why do you think there's water forming on the outside of the glass? What do you think's causing that water to form on the outside, the condensation? The ice. So what is ice? It's water in what kind of form is it?
Solid.
A solid form. So it's basically ice in a solid form, isn't it? Water has three forms: solid, the ice; liquid, the normal water; and steam or gas, which is the evaporation, so the water vapor. So that is basically it. So you think that water evaporation is the water changing its form, forming clouds, eventually forming rain, and that is our water cycle. Thank you.